3, 2, 1.
Welcome to QueenStage. We're here to spotlight the athletes, stories, and action in women's cycling, giving the sport the attention it deserves. And we're going to do so with the quality, depth, and personality the sport demands.
I'm Rosael Torres-Davis.
I'm Betsy Welch.
I'm Anne-Marije Rook.
And I'm Molly Hurford. Welcome to QueenStage, where we are all in on the women's race. So the name QueenStage refers to the most challenging and prestigious stage in a multi-day race, which frankly is a really apt metaphor for this new venture. Our goal here is we are going to bring you, the cycling fans, smart, sharp, personality-driven insights to the sport's biggest races, and we are starting with previews and daily coverage of the 2025 Tour de France Femmes, avec Zwift. So we'll be posting recaps every day. Make sure you're subscribed. Let us know in the comments on Instagram at QueenStageCC what you want to hear more of. And of course, support us by hitting the rate and review button. All right, to get started, let's meet the QueenStage supergroup. I'm Molly Hurford. I am in Toronto, Ontario. I am a cycling journalist and podcaster, the author of the Shred Girl series, and deeply, deeply in love with women's sports.
I'm Anne-Marije Rook, but you can call me Rook. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I've been a journalist for 18 years, and 12 of those have been spent on women's cycling. I'm currently the North American editor of Cycling Weekly, and I, too, am very much in love with women's sports.
Hi, everybody. I am Rosael Torres-Davis, a freelance journalist based in Philadelphia. I've written for Cycling Weekly, Cycling News, and Bicycling. And my favorite part about women's cycling is being on the ground at the events whenever I can, like events like the World Championships. I'm bound where the stories are unfolding in real time.
And I am Betsy Welch, a freelance journalist and storyteller based in Carbondale, Colorado. For the past 5 years, I led the gravel cycling coverage for Outside, Velo, and Pink Bike. And now my reporting is crossing over into other sports and topics having to do with the outdoors, which is where I love to be. One of my favorite memories from being a cycling reporter was attending the inaugural Tour de France Femmes in 2022. Rook was there. In fact, Rook, I think that's where we became friends, and super cool memory I'll never forget.
I love it. And what is so cool about this super team is that we have all been in this space of women's cycling for so long. So to get together and be able to do this is incredible. And we have to give such a huge shout out and thank you to the amazing Sean Small at Ruckus Composites, a place that offers precision carbon fiber bicycle frame repair and inspection. So definitely check that out if you happen to have a carbon fiber bike. Sean is really the person who came up with this idea, who brought us all together, and we are just so, so grateful that he is bringing us along for this really cool ride. Today's episode, we are all about the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, which begins on Saturday, July 26th and runs through Sunday, August 3rd for 9 whole stages, the longest in the history of the Tour de France Femmes, and 0 rest days, which means we will not get any rest days either, because we are going to be bringing you daily recaps of all of the racing action. But to get ready for that, we are kicking off with a quick recap of last year's race, a little bit about the race history itself. That way newer fans have some context for this year, and frankly, longtime fans have the refresher because it's, been a year. And before we get into the race history, if you are going to watch the Tour de France Femmes, you can watch over on Flow Bikes if you are in Canada. You can watch it on NBC or Peacock if you are in the US. And a note, the start times are weird this year. The start time for Stage 1 is 11:15 Eastern on Saturday. Stage 2 is 7 a.m. Eastern, or at least that's what they've put out at the moment, at the time of recording, we'll say. And then after that, it's going to be at 9:35 in the morning, Monday through Friday, and then a little bit of a shake-up Saturday, Sunday for the final stages. So make sure you're kind of checking on wherever you're watching so you don't miss the racing action. But let's kick it off by talking about the race history. Rook, I'm looking at you. Talk to us about how this race came to be.
Sure, yeah. A rendition of the Tour de France Femmes goes back to 1955. It was called the Le Lion, and it was won by Millie Robinson, the Manx missile of her time. And then there was a official women's Tour de France. It lasted from 1984 to 1989, and it had 18 stages. The women's race was held on the same day as the men's, just the courses were just slightly shorter. Marianne Martin, the American, was the very first racer to win an official Tour de France Femme, or a women's Tour de France. But then due to lack of commercial and media interest, it got shorter and shorter until there was no more women's Tour de France. Another rendition called the Grand Boucle appeared, and that was discontinued until in 2009. And then there was nothing until 2014 when a big lobbying effort from Catherine Bertine, Emma Pulley, Chrissy Wellington, and Marianne Vos brought together what was called La Course. I was there for the first one. It was held on the Champs-Élysées. It was basically, to be completely honest, a bit of a sideshow, a warm-up act, if you will, before the men's race came into the finish. It was just a circuit race, a criterium perhaps, and there were various editions of La Course, different formats. They tried all sorts of things, ranging from a single-day race to 3 days of races. And it got mixed reviews. Some people had my opinion, where it just felt like a sideshow. Other people said that it was a good showcasing of women's cycling. But the real showcasing of women's cycling, obviously, is the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift that we have now, which was started in 2022. And hopefully we will only see the race get longer and longer. This year is its longest edition yet, with 9 stages. The previous ones have been 8. And we'll see where it goes from here.
Awesome. Yeah. And a great movie to watch if you're interested in the, 1980s iteration of the Tour de France Femmes was Breakaway Femmes, which came out this year. Really, really fun documentary. It was independent movie, so it was only shown in select theaters. But if you can look it up, if you want to see some of the racing history, I mean, it's such a worthwhile watch for sure. Okay. Now, before we get into last year's thing, I did want to poll all of you and ask, do we want a 21-day stage race? Or my personal opinion is that I would actually rather see the Tour de France get shortened and the Tour de France Femmes get lengthened, so they're both 14 days. To me, that's the sweet spot for a stage race. Thoughts? Feelings?
I think it's really up to the riders. I mean, I think a lot of them have mentioned how maybe just a steady, sustainable growth is just better, because we also need the peloton to continue to develop and the level to continue to rise. Because otherwise, you're going to have a very long race, which is going to be dominated by, I don't know, just maybe Demi Vollering, and then nobody else will be able to touch her. Where right now, other people are at reach of people like Vollering.
Yeah, I think the calendar right now, the Women's World Tour calendar has, 27 races this year? The teams just aren't big enough to where they can send a team to every one of these races. So unless that calendar gets reorganized and shortened, we really can't, the riders can't do a full 21-day Tour de France.
Right. And I think what we all probably do agree on is that they could do, and physically do a 21. I think the depth of the field is incredible right now. But from my interviewing a lot of these riders, none of them have expressed interest in a 21-day tour, at all. I think it's more exciting and digestible when it's shorter. I certainly don't watch all 21 days of the Tour de France, as we're going to call it, maybe. So I like your idea, Molly. 14-day, even 10 to 14, both of them. Then you're committed and you're in and you can be there, and it's exciting for the riders too. I sort of liken it to Unbound. Why does the Super Bowl of gravel need to be 200 miles? It historically has been really attritional. I guess it's not anymore. It's more tactical. But yeah, I like it a little shorter, but it could be more than 9. I think 10 to 14 is good.
As long as they have a little bit of everything.
Right.
Give me some mountain stages, give me a time trial, give me a team time trial, just a little bit of everything.
Totally.
We want a time trial. We're saying we want a time trial.
And a gravel stage, please.
Yep. And we will get into all of the stages in a second. But Rosael, talk us through 2024, because I mean, most exciting tour of all time. I'm calling it.
No, it really was. So the 2024 Tour de France Femmes packed 8 stages into a cross-border adventure that started flat in the Netherlands and then detoured through the Ardennes in Belgium and then ended up with 2 punishing alpine climbs, including a summit finish on Alpe d'Huez. And this may sound harsh. I'm just inserting some opinion here because I know a lot of work and thought goes into designing these routes, right? But I personally found the opening stages of last year's tour a little dull and boring. The first, even though like I was excited because they were happening in another country and we will see all of the Rotterdam and all this. And Rook, you have to correct me if I say any what would you call it? Netherlands names wrong?
Dutch.
Any Dutch names wrong? You say it's Holland. I was gonna say Holland, Dutch, whatever. Okay, anyway, but I do have to say that it did snowball and it did bring all the drama and it really grew into a big race and with a weekend of racing that delivered. But let's see, in the first 2 stages, we had sprinter Charlotte Kool of DSM Firmenich PostNL, which the team is now called Picnic PostNL. She won the first 2 stages in the Netherlands. Then Demi Vollering took the yellow jersey from Kool on that day where we had 2 stages in one. So on the 3rd stage, there was a 6.3 kilometer time trial, and she beat Demi Vollering of Canyon SORAM by 5 seconds.
Demi Vollering was SD Works at the time, and she beat...
Yeah, Chloe Daiger of Canyon SORAM.
Yeah.
Then stage 4 brought a taste of the Ardennes, and Pug Pieterse of Phoenix de Koenig stunned Vollering in a photo finish after she had broken away with Kasia Niewiadoma of Canyon SORAM on one of those climbs. In stage 5, that's when the real drama came. Stage 5 was kind of like a lumpy classic stage. And 10 kilometers from the finish line, Vollering crashed going into a rounded corner. And she did not have a lot of teammates close by. And there was a lot of miscommunication in the team. And Blanca Bass, her teammate, was already ahead. She won the stage. But then it was Kasia Niewiadoma of Canyon SORAM who claimed yellow after finishing 2nd place, while Vollering lost 1 minute and 19 seconds. This was a very dramatic stage. Then stage 6 delivered our first French winner of the race. It was Cédrine Corbal of Cetaticid WNT. She did it by launching a solo daring attack on the descent into Morteau. Mariana Vos of Visma Lease Bike won the sprint for 2nd and took over the green jersey, and Niewiadoma held yellow. Then came stage 7 that took the peloton into the Alps, where Justine Gekira of AG Insurance Soudal attacked her breakaway companions on the Col de la Saint-Jean de Six to take a solo win. Maeve Squeben from Arkea B&B Hotels took 2nd, and Vollering outsprinted Niewiadoma for 3rd place, but still Niewiadoma held on to the yellow jersey. Then came the grand finale, stage 8, a summit finish on Alpe d'Huez with nearly 3,800 meters of climbing. And Vollering went all in. She attacked early on the Col du Gladon and briefly becoming the virtual leader of the race. But Niewiadoma dug deep and limited her losses and crossed the line just behind Evita Music of FDJ Suez, who got 4th place on the stage. Vollering won the stage. Paulina Ruiz-Jacers, who is somebody we haven't mentioned, we should talk about her later. Paulina Ruiz-Jacers from Phoenix de Koenig was 2nd place, and Evita Music was 3rd. In the end, Kasia Niewiadoma won the Tour de France by just 4 seconds over Vollering, with Ruiz-Jacers rounding the podium on 3rd place. It was a thrilling finale, a race that took its time to catch fire, but when it did, it burned hot and bright. Really good addition.
Yeah, I think, if I may, I think the biggest takeaways from that race that everyone talked about was team tactics. What do you do when your race leader crashes? And that the story became as much about Kasia Niewiadoma winning the Tour de France as it became Demi Vollering losing the Tour de France by 4 seconds. And so as we go into this year, it's what's so exciting, I think, is that the dynamics have changed. Demi is no longer with SD Works. So the team drama that was happening in that team is no longer there. She's now on her own. We've got all these other major players that are now leading their own teams. And I think this may be the most competitive Tour de France edition yet that we're about to see. And after all the action we had last year, I'm really looking forward to what that may deliver.
What is the team sport aspect of cycling? Like, because there's individual winners every day and overall, but how do the teams race for each other as a team?
Yeah, absolutely. So every team shows up with a set amount of riders, 5 in this case, and every team rider has its own role. So if the team decides to go after the GC or the overall win, they want that yellow jersey at the end, then they tend to pick one leader and everyone else will try and protect that leader. And by protecting, I mean making sure that they respond to any breakaway, to any attack, keeping that rider safe from any conflict, keeping their nose out of the wind. They're there to protect that rider and making sure that that rider does the least amount of work herself before it's her time to shine. Other teams will go for stage wins, in which case they might choose a sprinter that they're going to protect and make sure that they get that sprinter positioned really well at the end. But no one can win a Tour de France without their teammates. It is an absolute team sport. And whether your role is to sprint for an individual stage win or for points, whether you're there just to protect your rider, you have a very important role to play. And I don't think... it's a bummer that we only celebrate that one rider that's in the jersey at the end. I think just like in soccer, everyone should get a medal at the end. Everyone should get some sort of token of appreciation and recognition that they've helped their team secure the win. But alas, unfortunately, only one rider ends up in that yellow jersey. But make no mistake about it. It's absolutely a team sport.
Love it. Love it. And this year, I think really lends itself to a lot of team tactics because we're going to cover the stages here and I'm talking about stages 1 through 3. And I would say profile wise, they're lending themselves to a lot of people being in contention for the GC within the first few days. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of people within, a minute of each other because of how they're set up. So stage 1, 79 kilometers, which is just shy of 50 miles. That is short for a stage. And part of the reason for this is because it's happening the same day that the second to last stage of the Tour de France is happening. So from a televised, television schedule time, they kind of had to make the choice. Although, side note, the men's race is 184 kilometers. So really feel like they could have met in the middle with 2, maybe 100K stages, just pointing that out. But whatever. Anyway, c'est la vie. The short, punchy stage, it's a little hilly. There's no major climbs, but there are a few little QOM climbs. So, spots where the women are going to be going for those climbers points, the polka dot jersey. But to me, I think this is going to be an interesting one because it's going to be where you see the teams kind of sizing each other up, who's in top shape, who's, going in the breakaways, what teams are, kind of really in the mix. Cause, a lot of these riders haven't raced together in 2 months. So I think we're going to see a lot of really interesting stuff happening in that short stage. And that's one that you should watch, from the time they start the broadcast till it ends. And then we move into stage 2, flat stage, 110K, just a couple short little punchy climbs, which could make for some breakaway attempts. But realistically, to me, with the number of top sprinters in the race, the teams are really not going to want to see a breakaway go up the road. So I think that's just going to be a really good day of racing. You're going to see some teams trying some stuff, maybe mixing it up a little bit. But ultimately, I think no one's going to want to see a breakaway going. And then stage 3, again, we're keeping these short. We'll throw our predictions in after this. We've got a lot of them. Stage 3, we're finally hitting the 100-mile marker. We're at 162K for this stage, also flat. Should make for a pretty exciting, back half of the race, especially. You're going to have a lot of the GC contenders comfortably kind of within range of that yellow jersey still. Like I say, I think we're still going to see a lot of people together in the standings. And this one's going to have a sprint finish. If you don't watch the full thing, you're going to want to tune into the end because I think this one is going to be the first time you're really seeing the sprinters, the teams lining it up. All the tactics are going to be put into play. And I think this is where we could start seeing the fireworks, personally, although I don't think it's going to impact GC time that much.
Molly, question. Correction earlier, I said 5 riders. There's 7 riders. That was my bad. But question, Rosael earlier said that the stages at the Tour de France Femmes last year in Rotterdam and The Hague were boring. They were flat. They got sprinter. Do you think that's why the early stages are so short?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I personally put it down to logistics, but I think they might also be trying to really fire these up a little bit. Frankly, I thought the same thing about the Tour de France this year. I felt like the early stages were a little boring if you take all the crashes out of the equation. But yeah, I'm excited for some shorter, punchy stuff, personally. I think it could go really just interesting and leave everyone fresh, right?
Yeah, no, it could even affect the GC from the beginning. Let's say there are some punchies, let's say somebody who is a contender for GC gets on a breakaway and gets a haul of seconds ahead of somebody else. It could make a difference in the end.
Okay, who is up next?
Yeah, I think I'm up with stage 4, which is another flat stage, maybe fairly similar to stage 3. 131K. There's only one categorized climb. It's a 4, which, remember, the difficulty, the higher number climb is the easier climb. So 4 is the easiest, and HC is the hardest. So anyway, only one climb around 100-kilometer mark. This will be another bunch sprint. So will it be the same sprinter who wins stage 3? That's always kind of cool when there's 2 flat stages in a row. Let's see, stage 5, we finally get some mountains. It's not a pure mountain stage. I think the race organization is calling these medium mountain stages. There are 3 categorized climbs, but they're only category 4 and 3. This stage is notable, I think, because it's the longest stage of the race. It's 166 kilometers. So that's always kind of fun, even though I just said races should be shorter. But, 166 kilometers is not 200 miles. Anyway, this one, even though it's kind of mountainy, it does finish on a false flat. So kind of like an uphill false flat. So it might not be the rider that we think who wins it. Not necessarily like a pure climber on that stage. So that one should be fun to watch. And then stage 6 is the first true mountain stage, 124 kilometers. I think it starts pretty flat and then it gets more serious. There are 5 climbs, couple category 3, 1 category 1, the Col du Bel, and 1 category 2. So yeah, stage 6 will get us climbing. I do want to note, just before we go to the next 3 stages, that this is the longest tour with 1,165 total kilometers, and it's also the highest with 17,240 meters. Big numbers.
I'm gonna rethink my beginning point after that question Rook asked me before. I'm like, I actually dislike that it's like a very flat, and then it starts slowly getting into the climbing, and then we keep climbing, and then we keep climbing. I don't love that, because then it's like, okay, so the sprinters go for the first 4 days and then it's a climbing race.
Then you go home.
Yeah, and then we go home. I would rather see it mixed up. So I revised my answer, but Rook, walk us through the exciting climby stuff.
Yeah, after stage 5, everything it's going up. The race, it's just a climber's race at that point. Stage 7 is nearly 160 Ks with 3 climbs that all happen in the last 50 Ks of the race. So it's a fairly rolly, fairly flat first 100 Ks, which, that's the opportunity for some breakaways, some team tactics. There's also a 17K descent, which is very interesting because a lot can happen in that descent, God forbid, but if someone crashes or if there's a breakaway, or things can still be shaken up in those final meters until we just go climbing. Stage 8, again, this is the big day. This is the Queen stage. It has nearly 3,500 meters of climbing, which is over 11,000 feet for you Americans. That's a boatload of climbing, in other words. And this ends on the Col de Madeleine. That is a 18.6 kilometer climb with an average gradient of 8.1%. It's an HC climb. It's arguably the hardest climb in this Tour de France. And this is where we're going to see our GC leaders really either make a run for it or battle it out among the top contenders. And then stage 9 it's the opportunity for the GC leader to either solidify her lead or for the other ones to make their move. It's another very climby, very mountainous stage with 2,800 meters of climbing. And it, again, includes 3 different climbs, including an HC climb. So as you were saying, Molly, it's just, we're going to go from flat into nothing but mountains. So the first few days, hopefully the GC leaders can sit in and hide and make themselves completely unseen. And in the last, 4 stages, we're going to see nothing but the GC leaders.
Yeah. And Rook, can you remind us what does HC means in the mountain categories?
That is the hardest. It stands literally translated into above category.
Yeah, Oros category. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's 4, 3, 2, 1. And then HC.
HC.
Beyond categorization, it's that hard.
Got it. Scary. So what kind of tour is this, would you say? Is it for the climbers? Like, it sounds like it is.
Is there ever a tour not for the climbers?
That's true. Very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact is you can't win a tour if you're not a climber. But, like, not every tour is, truly designed for the climbers. Sort of like the square is a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't a square kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe more notable is the fact that it doesn't have a time trial. So people who specialize in that won't be able to take advantage on it. So they'll have to rely on their climbing legs.
Yeah, I think like any other tour, the sprinters will get their day to shine. The poncheurs get their day to shine. But really, in the end, it's another tour, as all the tours are for the climbers.
And on the note of, who we're calling, we're going to go kind of round robin here with our prediction for the GC, the general classification. So who is going to go home with the yellow jersey? And then we're also going to drop our surprise. Like what thing that would maybe shock someone or like, just our wildest thing we're expecting to see here. Okay, I'm calling it. I'm calling Pauline Ferrand-Prévot for the GC overall. I just think she's been, leading up to it. She's French. We've seen her, when Paris Olympics happened, she was all in on that. So we saw what she did all year for that. She trained. She didn't do all of the World Cups. She just focused on that race and then executed. And I think she's going to do the same. So boom, calling it.
She does have an incredible ability to peak in those moments. She said she did the Paris-Roubaix as a trial, a warm-up for the tour just to see what it feels like. And boom, she goes and wins the thing. Yeah. But it's 9 days of racing, though. We've only seen her in one-day races.
This is true.
Yeah, I guess that's my thing. We just haven't seen that from her in stage racing. But I wouldn't be surprised with her. Like, she could do anything, really. She's just a calculated rider, like Brooke said.
She's definitely one of my favorite storylines for all the reasons we've mentioned. Like, she's got all the rainbow stripes you could ever want, but she doesn't have yellow, and it would be so cool. It would be so cool.
100%. And then my shocker that I'm going to drop is, I think Team EF has been a little quiet this season, but I suspect that we're going to see Kristen Faulkner, who won the Olympic gold medal. She's obviously, targeting this race. I think we're going to see her actually kind of making some surprising moves in this race. I would say I could even see her early stages, at least, in the yellow jersey. And that team actually has a shocking amount of firepower for a pretty young team. So I think from a team tactic perspective, if they have all of their best people there and they're all in good form, I think EF could actually be the conversation that we're having about the race.
Interesting.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, who's up next? Who wants to go?
Yeah, I can go next. This is my prediction. I made it with my brain, not with my heart. My heart is not, it's undecided yet. But I think if everything goes to plan, it's just I feel like Demi Vollering of FDJ Suez is so unbeatable. Like she is so like every mistake she has made in the past, she's made sure to learn about it and make corrections. And I just haven't seen enough of Kasia Niewiadoma this season to put her at the same level as Demi Vollering. But so far we have seen Elisa Longo-Borghini and Marlene Reusser look very formidable and consistent. But I think the race for second and third is going to be very interesting because we also have Sara Gigante, Paulina Ruijackers, who was third place last year, and many, many other people. And for a surprise, I hate to jinx it, but just seeing how the first stage is, which I think has a bit of a circuit in the city, and seeing what happened in the men's Tour de France, I think there could be either like a crash or a mechanical, something that happens in stage 1 or 2 that takes out actually like a main contender. I think it could be like that race is going to be stage 1, going to be race from the gun. And who knows what could happen. But unfortunately, I think the nerves are going to be high and those stages are going to be more important than we think.
That's a good one. I like it. And okay, here's my question back about Demi, though. Does she have the team that can fully support her for 9 stages? Do we think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Between
climbing power,
Labous and Musique, they could also win the race. That's the thing. Like FDJ Suez, let's say they do Demi Vollering because she got 6 or loses a bunch of time or whatever. Like those 2 riders are always in the top 10 when it comes to GC riding. I wouldn't be surprised.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't keep like Labous out of the mix either.
All right. Well, speaking of, Rook, go ahead.
It's like, can I duck out from this one? It's too hard to call. There are just so many good climbers. We've got Realini that we haven't talked about yet from Trek. She was climbing so well last year. We got Reusser, Gigante, Vollering. Phoenix de Koning, look for them for stage wins for sure. Like I think that team's going to be super exciting. Obviously, we got Puk Pietersen, Paulina Royakkers who can climb really well. So if there's one team to look for stage wins, I'd look to Phoenix de Koning. For the GC, I'm gonna go with Demi Vollering. She's the most likely winner, but it's gonna be tight. She's definitely not a shoo-in by any means. She's the likely winner because she has the experience. But there's so many great contenders this year. It's extremely hard to call.
Well, I get to go last, which is so unfortunate because I can't not say Demi. I don't know. She's like, I just can feel it from her. It's an energetic thing. I mean, obviously she has the results too. But right?
No, it is. But it is an energetic thing. Like compare her training and her vibe to Kasia. It's like she is
very
so
different.
Focused.
Yeah. And
so
like
focused.
you said though, Rosael, like shit could hit the fan. It probably will. I hope not to anyone's like huge detriment, but yeah, it's hard not to pick Demi. And like I said, I would love PFP. In fact, a couple months ago, I would have been all in on her. But now I just don't feel like I've seen her race on the road enough. I mean, she's been racing on the road forever, but like at this level and but I would love to see her. And I got to give a shout out to Puck. I think you were probably alluding to this, Rook. Like she'll get another stage win like she did last year, but I would love it if she just sort of freaking went all out. Like she's so young, she's so spunky, she's so talented. Maybe not quite to the level of winning the tour, but she's so fun. And like, I kind of think she has no F's to give sometimes, like she's just but I also will mention like along those lines, I think after the Giro d'Italia, I think Sara Gigante is going to be one to watch. I'm not sure I would have said that. Yeah. I mean, she's on fire. She's stoked. She feels good. And her team obviously can now see that she's more than capable. So I didn't really answer the questions very well, but I always tend to duck them as well.
No, you did. That was great.
Crushed it, yeah.
You guys, none of us have spoken about SD Works. How unusual is that? SD Works, the winningest team in the last decade, and we
Yeah.
haven't spoken about Kopecky or Anne van der Breggen.
Oh man,
That's
Do
a
we not
story
think
in
they're up there?
itself.
well, I just don't see Kopecky getting over. Like, can she get over those last super hilly stages? Like, have we seen that of her before? And then with Anna van der Breggen, when I saw her at Giro Done, I didn't. It seems like she was missing like just a little 1% in form, like the kick, like to really outkick her rivals. I just didn't see that, and I'm not sure that that her whole team will be able to support her on something like that.
And I'll say my hot take on that is like, I'm so happy that we didn't mention SD Works, only because like I think it's so good for the sport that now there's so many different teams that can take the win. Like, I love this for us.
Yeah. Like, I see them more as stage hunters, really. Like, I think those first two stages are prime for Lotte Kopecky.
Love it. Love it. Okay, well, we're going to have to, we'll check back in at the end of Tour de France Femmes and see which of our predictions came true. And we also want to hear everyone else's predictions. So you can find us over at QueenStage.cc on Instagram. So maybe head over there, give us a follow, and drop us a comment about who your predictions are, any surprise predictions, your GC person, and also any questions that you have about the tour or about, just women's racing in general, and we will do our best to answer them on the upcoming episodes. Speaking of which, you can catch us in our next episode on Saturday, which will drop Saturday afternoon. We'll be recapping stage 1 of the Tour de France Femmes, and we'll be going daily from there. Every stage recap, so make sure that you're subscribed, rate, review, share it wherever, Instagram, social, email your friends, send it to your dad. I don't know, do whatever. But definitely, hang out with us. It's going to be a really fun tour. So we'll see you then.